Alright guys, so I've got something a little bit different with this video. So I'm going to be talking about the watch that I've got in obviously, but I'm also going to be talking about this brand and what they're all about. Because they actually specialise in making bespoke watches, custom made for you. And this piece that I've got in here is an example of the kind of work they can do. So I'll leave a link down in the description to the website where you can actually check out this watch if you want to get one of these in particular, but also the link to the page where you can contact them and get your bespoke piece made. And here's a quick overview on the website of that section and the bits they'll go through with you to work together to make your watch. I particularly like the section where it talks about it actually has a professional photo shoot of your watch once it's done, so I'm assuming they'll actually send that to you as well, which is a really nice touch. And here's a quick look at some of the collabs they've done previously as well, so a lot to check out on there. But now let's get back to this piece and show you what it's all about. So this is the packaging you'll get it in, the Finemods branding on there, and if we just slide this out and open it up, and there's the watch, just sat on that cushion. Not really much else in there, cleaning cloth and the 1-year warranty card. And now here's a proper look at the watch. So this is the Finemods two-tone near vintage field. I really like that gold colour chapter ring. Just adds something a little bit different, a little bit unique, and it just catches the light really nicely too. But before we go into detail on that, first of all let's go over the dimensions. So we've got a diameter of 38mm, thickness of 11.6, lug width of 20, then the all-important lug to lug. It's coming in at 44.5, which is nice and compact. So if you've got smaller wrists, this might be one for you. And then when it comes to the weight on this supplied leather strap, it's coming in at 75 grams. And it is a very nice strap as well. So let's get a closer look at that, talk about that in a bit more detail. You can see we have got a nice bit of texture on that, and it's already beginning to crack and just add a little bit of uniqueness to it. I do really like that, suits this kind of neo-vintage vibe it's going for. When it comes to the buckle, it's got an interesting look to it. No branding on there whatsoever though, but it does look good. And then that's the back of the strap as well. Stitching all nicely done as well. No issues with that. I just think it suits the watch perfectly. Moving on to the case back. Got a completely sterile screw down case back, which is fully brushed. But I imagine you'll be able to customise that if you really want to. Flicking around to the side, you can see we've got drilled lugs there, so that's a nice touch. So if you do want to swap out that strap, you can do quickly and easily. And again, we've got an unsigned crown. Would have been nice if they had that logo on there, but again, probably something you can actually customise if you do want to. In terms of the finishing on the case, it's fully brushed, apart from that little polished section just under the bezel. And you can also see as well, we've got that flat crystal on there. We'll be checking in a bit if that is sapphire. But first of all, let's check out the dial, because this is where this watch really shines. And I do mean that literally. Not really for the dial, but more for that chapter ring. And also, there's some other little polished details and bits and pieces going on there. So when it comes to the indices, I'm not 100% sure if they are actually applied, or if they're just printed and then the borders around them are applied. If they are applied indices, they're quite thin. Either way though, they do look good. So they've got a silver colour around them, whereas the hands have actually got that gold matching the chapter ring. I do actually like that they've not gone gold with everything. I think it breaks it up quite nicely and it works well with the case as well. And we've got nice proportions on all of those hands too. So the hour hand may look a touch short when it's in between the 12, 3, 6 and 9, but when it comes round to them, it's more or less touching. And speaking of the 3 o'clock position, obviously we've got the date there. Personally, I'd prefer it down at the 6 myself, and I think it would have been nice if they'd put some kind of border around as well, just to tie it in a bit better with the rest of the indices. When it comes to the branding on the dial, that's kept to a minimum, just the logo, no text. I do appreciate that, that's definitely my preference, and there's barely any text at the bottom either, just the automatic. It doesn't actually mention the water resistance anywhere on the watch, or even on the website for that matter, so I'm not entirely sure what it's going to be. I'm assuming with the screw down case back, it should have at least 50, possibly 100 maybe, but it's not like you're going to be going swimming with this watch anyway, so it's not really a big deal. So overall, I think they've done a really good job on the dial. I think it looks really smart. They've not overdone it with the gold, and I think they've nailed it with that neo-vintage look. But the question is, what kind of crystal have they gone for with this? Have they gone modern or have they gone vintage? So let's check that out now, using the trusty Diamond Selector 2. And we have actually got sapphire. So I personally like that. I know some people might have preferred a more vintage thing, but let me know down in the comments which way would you be leaning. So now let's talk about the movement. And yep, as you probably guessed, we've got an NH35, which is pretty standard for most microbrands, and this one's no different. So we've just got a push-pull crown. So if we pop it out to the first position, can change the date, pop it out to the second position, second hand stops, we've got hacking, and then obviously we can just change the time, and then pop it back in, second hand will re-engage, hand winding, all works well, no issues, crown guards don't get in the way. So far, I think it's shaping up to be a pretty nice watch, but the question is, what is the lume on this like? Is it going to be any good? Are those applied indices? Are they just printed? Is that going to affect the lume? Only one way to find out, so let's check it out now. So you can see we've got a bit there already, but let's charge it up, give it a proper chance. And there we go. So you can see it is looking pretty good, at least initially. So consistent across the hands and the indices, and we've even got a decent amount of lume on that second hand as well as that nice bonus of actually having the logo loomed. Not something I've seen before, at least I don't think I've. Let me know down in the comments if I am forgetting. It'll be interesting to see if that lume on the logo lasts, as well as everything else, so let's speed it up now and find out. So initially, not changing too much, but as it goes on, you will see it does start to fade a bit. It fades fairly evenly though, so the hands and the indices are both about as bright as each other still, and surprisingly as well, the lume on that logo is also still visible, as well as the second hand. But as we keep going on, you will see that it is beginning to fade a bit more, especially when it comes to that minute hand, because it is quite thin, so there's not that much surface area for lume, which is a little bit of an issue. You can still just about see it, but it's not great. So overall, okay lume, but not the best. So now you're probably wondering, how much is this going to cost you? So I'm going to talk about how much this specific watch costs, and also how much the service costs to do your own custom build. So we'll start with what it is for the custom build. So that's obviously going to vary depending on what specs you go for and what parts and bits and pieces, but it's varying between $500 and $900, which granted isn't cheap, but if you're getting your own custom built watch, you're going to expect to pay a bit of a premium for that. So with that in mind, how much is this one? So for this exact one, it's coming in at $615, which is about £490 and about €589, which again isn't the cheapest, but again, it's a pretty custom watch. You're definitely not going to be seeing loads of these about. So if you're still watching and you didn't immediately click off when I mentioned those prices, you're going to want to know how this wears on wrist, what the pros and cons are, and whether I'd recommend it or not. So let's do that now. And here it is on my 7-inch wrist. So I think it looks really good. I really like this strap. I think it suits the watch perfectly. And I just think it's a really smart looking piece. It's definitely got that vintage vibe to it, but with a new twist. When it comes to that strap, as I said, I love the detailing on it, the way it's cracking and kind of aging a bit, and it's really soft and supple. It's got an interesting buckle on it as well, something a little bit different. With that nice compact lug to lug as well, wears nicely on my wrist, nice bit of curvature to it, and also we've got those drilled lugs as well. You could maybe argue it's a touch on the thick side. I personally don't think it's too bad though. And we've got that sapphire crystal on there with that clear AR. But it is all about the dial with this watch, and also that chapter ring as well. I just love the gold colour, the gold accents on the hands as well. It just gives it something a little bit different, makes it something a bit more special. And as I said earlier, they could have easily overdone that and made it a little bit tacky, but I think they've got it spot on. But it's not a perfect watch by any means. There are some things that I would change. First one being that lume, just add some more layers on there. Personally, I would like to have seen the date window down at the 6 as well, and maybe add a border to that, just to tie it in with the rest of the indices a bit better. But other than that, a few minor little things, maybe have a signed crown and signed case back, perhaps a nice embossed one on the case back with that logo. I think that'd be quite good. But again, maybe that's something you can customise. But the main issue people are probably going to have with this watch is going to be down to the price, I think. Yeah, if you're going purely on specs, it is quite expensive. But again, you're paying for something that's fairly custom in this case, or if you go for your own personal build, completely custom. So I guess it comes down to whether you're willing to pay a bit of a premium for that service or not. I'm assuming if you've watched this far into the video, you're probably thinking about it at least. And if you are, make sure you check out all the links in the description so you can figure out exactly what you want to do if you do want to go for something like this or something totally different. But that's it for this one, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. Something a little bit different, something you've not seen before, hopefully. And I'll see you in the next one.